Welcome back to another wonderful episode of Featherhead Crypto. I am Featherhead. Today we'll be talking to the lead developer of FLO, Joseph Fiscella. Let me tell you, this community is super pumped about this project. I don't know how in the world they gained such a massive following, but hopefully we find out today. I'm pretty sure they have 3 Telegram channels, or at least that I know of, and they're active in all of them. I mean, just thousands of comments in their discussions. So we're going to have to figure out their secret, what's in their sauce. But as always, I need to tell you guys that nothing in this video or any of my content on the website or in my social medias is financial advice, nor should it be considered as such. If you guys enjoy the content, please subscribe. And if you have any projects that we should look into, please comment below and let us know, and we'll do our best to bring them on. For now, I hope you guys enjoy learning about FLO. All right, guys, we're here with Joseph Fiscella. Did I say that right?
That's right.
I introduced his name improperly, so it's Fiscella now, I'm pretty sure. But he is the FLO lead developer, and I'm pretty excited to talk to him. How you doing, Joseph?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. So where are we talking to you from today?
I'm actually in Seoul, South Korea.
And what brings you over there?
So I was here for the D-Economy conference, which was about 2 weeks ago. But I've been here for about 3 weeks already, and I'll be here for another week. Basically, meeting with people, trying to get integrated into the Seoul crypto scene, and learn more about how South Korea is involved in cryptocurrency.
Gotcha. So right off the bat, when I was digging up some research about you guys, it seems like there's a little bit of confusion online between FLO and Florin coin. Could you possibly clear that up? Is there a connection?
Yes. So originally, FLO was called Florin coin. That's the name that it was given by the anonymous founder when it started on Bitcoin Talk. But we got a lot of comments about how that name sounded like a European first name, like Florin or Florian. That's a pretty common first name for European people. And that made it seem like a joke to some. Like it's like naming the coin like Joey coin. So I thought that, first of all, it was too long. It's impossible to spell. It does not pass the radio test. So we decided to change it to FLO, simply FLO. Like EOS is simply EOS in all caps. It doesn't stand for anything or really mean anything. We thought, because the ticker was already FLO, that's a great ticker for us to have. We've had it for 6 years. We decided to make it just FLO.
Gotcha. And maybe you'll acquire a cool acronym for it later on down the road.
Yeah, we actually have theorized about that. The one that I like most is Freedom and Liberty Organization.
Gotcha. That's not bad.
Maybe we could a better one. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So, I guess could you tell us briefly about yourself and how you got involved in blockchain technology?
Sure. I'm a computer scientist by trade. I went to school. I got a degree in software engineering. And when I graduated college, I worked for about a year in Manhattan as a web developer. And then I discovered Litecoin mining at a certain point. I had heard of Bitcoin in college and sort of forgot about it. But then I rediscovered it later on after I graduated and started mining Litecoin. And as I started mining Litecoin, I discovered that there were other coins that you could mine that were on the script algorithm. And I would speculatively mine them and wait to see if they got an exchange or try to sell them in an OTC deal on the forum. And when FLO was announced on Bitcoin Talk, I heard about it. It was like I heard about it on the first day. So it was like the first day that FLO was announced, I started mining it. And I sent a message to the original creator, whose name was Sky Angel. It's just like an anonymous guy on Bitcoin Talk. And at that point, I fixed some bugs in the code. I really liked the idea of having a metadata layer on the blockchain. FLO was the first coin to have a metadata layer before Bitcoin had op return and just about a year before Ethereum even existed. So I thought we could build a lot of apps on here. So I decided to start working on it. About a year later, I met Devin from Alexandria, And he and I started a company, which is now the company that produces the OpenIndex protocol. So we've been working on that for about 5 years. So that's basically the history of me in the Bitcoin space.
So, since you brought it up, I wasn't sure if I was going to mention it or not, but someone told me to bring up Sky Angel, because I had no idea what the hell they were talking about. But I think they want to know, why he chose to remain anonymous, and what exactly is he doing with Flow right now?
Great question. So Sky Angel is the original creator of Flow. He put out most of the original updates for the first few years for the coin. He did actually help contribute code to the SegWit update, which was, I think, late 2017. So he's still around. He helps where he can, but from my email conversations with him and my conversations with him on the Bitcoin Talk forum, he's very much like an OG crypto guy, or gal. He seems like, he doesn't really want his identity to be known, and just keeps things very formal. It's almost like a Satoshi type character. It's cool, because the scene has changed so much from 2009 to 2019. It's refreshing to have someone like that on the team who just pops in randomly and kind of helps out when he can. I really appreciate him having started the whole thing from the beginning, writing all the C++ code that was required to get it off the ground, using his knowledge, mining the Genesis block, all that stuff. So I think it's super important to have someone like that on the team. And he doesn't really participate in Telegram or any of the social groups that we have, to my knowledge. If he does, it's under an anonymous name, another different anonymous name. But he does keep in contact with me via email, and we are definitely still working on Flow since the beginning.
So has Flow been around for quite a while?
Yes. So I mentioned that we've been working for quite some years. It's been since June 17th, 2013. That was the actual original release date of Flow and when the Genesis block was mined.
Wow. So I guess, could you explain to us what Flow is specifically for those that may not know?
I skipped over it really quickly, but Flow was the first cryptocurrency to have a metadata field, which means you can build arbitrary applications on top of it, put any metadata within the blockchain. And that data is always going to be decentralized. It's a proof of work currency, similar to Bitcoin or Litecoin, like I had mentioned earlier. So all the data is supported by the miners who run full nodes. And they're always going to be mining Flow to, get those rewards, right? The mining reward. So in a way, Flow is the best network for metadata and supporting metadata and keeping it decentralized. So we've been building a few apps on top of that. One of them, which is what Alexandria builds, is called the OpenIndex protocol. It's a software library where you can easily write metadata and read metadata into and from the Flow chain. And this gives us the ability to create applications that are feature-rich using that metadata on top of the chain.
So how in the world has Flow managed to get such a massive following? I mean, whenever I looked you guys up, I'm pretty sure you have 3 Telegram channels that I found, and all of them are just like the most active on my Telegram. So what's the secret sauce here?
Honestly, I've been part of internet communities for a long time, since I was like 10 years old, playing like online MMORPGs. And I wanted to keep that similar organic growth of, chat rooms and, community that I found in internet gaming and apply it to this cryptocurrency. So the only rule that we have really in the main chat is that you cannot make a personal attack against another member, and you can't talk about price. So we really encourage people to chat, and it's a very freedom of speech kind of zone in there. And people always tell us that that's a really great property to have because they can talk about whatever they want. And it even comes to a point where some people take it a little bit too far. And we have punished people with muting them for quite some time. But it is one of the most tolerant and accepting groups, I think, in the whole crypto space. And as a result of not being able to talk about price in the main chat, two different members of the community decided to start their own price chat groups, and they're both fairly active and have different members.
Well, that's great. I mean, to have a community like that is so huge in these projects, especially nowadays with the market going like it is. I think
Yeah,
that's just a huge factor in success for a project.
I think we also don't do any paid marketing. So if you heard about Flow, you didn't hear about it on like a paid marketing channel or from like a paid article or anything like that. So everyone that's in the channel sort of found Flow organically through a friend or through an article that they read on CoinDesk that was about a technology that we've built. Actually, now we have a Forbes article too. But so all the users in the channel are organic users, which makes, I think, the quality of conversation much better.
So most of them are humans and not bots, which is
Uh,
also
yeah,
unheard
actually,
of on Telegram.
we don't have a bot deleting bot. You know, you have there's like the day sandbox. There are some bots that you can use on your channel to automatically detect other malicious bots. We don't use that. We just give many trusted members admin to delete spam. And it seems like we actually remove spam faster using humans than the bots can remove, malicious bots.
Yeah, well, the bots. I'm a Telegram manager as well. I work
Yeah,
with like 3 different cryptocurrency teams and
nice.
whatever. But yeah, they usually leave some breadcrumbs behind whenever they delete some comments. But so I guess something that I'm personally curious about. I'm sure a lot of people know, but is there a connection between Flow and Overstock.com? Maybe the CEO and where is that connection at if there is?
So the story goes like this. When we started working, Devin and I started working on Alexandria, which is the company that produces the Open Index protocol, just about 5 years ago. And one of the first apps we were making was supposed to be a YouTube competitor. So we were going to use our metadata fields to serve links to BitTorrent or IPFS. And those links would be linked to like a video or music or something like that. And there's a developer named Chris who got involved in that project early on, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and started helping us with that because it was an interesting open source ideal, right? Like have this decentralized YouTube. And Chris now works for Medici, Medici being an Overstock portfolio company. And from what I believe, Chris made the introduction and talked about Flow with his coworkers, and it became considered for any of the proof of existence or any of the metadata stuff that Overstock was working on. So I'll talk a little bit about T0 and their use of DLR technology and how Flow ties into that.
That's the next question.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's under the Overstock umbrella. T0, having a trading engine, uses Flow to record who owns what shares. So if there's ever the need to locate the owner of a share, they actually use their system, but also use the Flow system to be able to look that up. And now, unfortunately, T0 is not launched yet. So we are not sure whether or not, in production, in August or whenever T0 officially launches, Flow will be used. But right now, every business day, they're actually putting those DLR records into the blockchain. And we set up a website so you can kind of see it. It's on flowblockchain.org/T0. And you can see all the metadata that's proving that, someone made an order or there's interest or something like that. It's a bunch of data that's related to some of the stocks and shares that are issued on T0. And all of that is provably timestamped. It's provably immutable. And it's decentralized in the Flow network.
And for any of the viewers out there that are listening that are interested in these links that we're talking about, I'll be sure to put them in the description below for you guys. So you don't have to pause it now and go look. You can if you want, but I'll put it in the description. So, firstly, Medici reminds me of the show I just watched on Netflix. Have you watched that yet?
No, what is it called?
It's Medici something, but it's awesome.
Oh, wow.
It's about like the back like towards the medieval era with the early bankers. It's like the Medici family. They're in charge of the bank or something. But
that might be what Medici Ventures is. The name is based on.
Yeah, it's possible. It's a pretty cool name. It makes me think about that every time I hear it. So
Is it a historic show? Is it like, does it go through the history, or is it basically fiction?
it goes through the history a little bit. I don't know how accurate it is,
Yeah,
but
cool.
it's definitely worth watching.
Oh, great.
It's got the dude off Lord of the Rings in there, the
Oh,
like the first guy to die or whatever. I don't know if you've seen those movies, but so many.
boring it? Or-
Yeah, yeah. Uh, Also, if you guys are seeing me sipping out of this girly ass straw, it's because my fiance threatened my life if I get any of this red drink on my white shirt that she just got me.
Oh, wow.
So
It's a nice shirt. I got my Flow hoodie on. It's pretty sweet.
nice.
It doesn't really show up in the frame, unfortunately. I thought it would.
Yeah, y'all have to get me one of those. Um, so Medici Ventures is also your link to Ravencoin. Is that right? And you may have touched on that already, but are there other ways that you all are connected? Do you all work together?
Yeah, so there's two other ways, actually. One is through Ravencoin, like you mentioned, and one is through Medici Land Governance, which is a Medici Ventures portfolio company. Medici Land Governance is putting land rights property records onto the blockchain. So they're using Flow to put metadata of which owns which land into the chain. There was actually a CoinDesk article that explains this. Sorry,
Oh, you're good.
I need a drink of water.
Here you go, man.
There's a CoinDesk article. Thanks. A CoinDesk article explains this about how we made a deal with the Wyoming government and Teton County to put land rights records onto the blockchain using Flow. And we also have this Ravencoin field, which is connecting Flow transaction IDs to the Ravencoin blockchain, so that if we want to associate a Ravencoin asset with some metadata that's on Flow or some OIP content, you can do that very easily using that, field that's supposed to be holding OIP transaction IDs.
So I'm trying to wrap my head around that because that's pretty interesting. So I asked your community if they had any questions that I should direct to you in this interview, and it was just, of course, they overwhelmed me. So I tried to pick and choose some questions that I thought I should bring up. Many of the questions came from the Crypt Keeper, S Flame, Ed Devlin, and Juan Mix. Hopefully I pronounced those guys right. I'm sure you know all of them.
Yeah.
So someone told me that Flow was recently named a blockchain billionaire baby by Forbes. Is there any truth to this statement?
That's correct. There was a Forbes article released yesterday or 2 days ago that went through all the billion-dollar companies like Microsoft, Amazon, Overstock that are using blockchain technology and which blockchains they're using. So under the Overstock category, obviously Ravencoin and Flow were both there. So in that Forbes article, it goes through like all the major industry players, fintech industry players that are using blockchain, and Flow was listed, which is really great. So it's good to get that recognition for our enterprise use cases.
Absolutely, that's huge. I mean, I think most projects only dream of getting mentioned by Forbes.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Yeah, that's congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Could you talk some about Caltech's use of Flow?
Absolutely. So the Caltech story is very interesting, and it shows the power of how a decentralized network can be used in many different ways. So in academia, there's always a problem of, someone doing a lot of research, and then it gets kind of put behind this walled garden where you have to pay to access it, or only a select few have rights to use that information. And the researchers at Caltech, Davi, who's actually very active in the community and works on the OpenNX protocol with us, they decided they wanted their work to be completely open source and to completely be accessible by anyone. And the best way to do that is to actually put it onto a blockchain network such that it's always available and the data persistency is at maximum. And Davi found out about Flow through mining it. So he had some script ASICs that were mining Flow, learned more about the tech, and decided, hey, why don't we use this for our electron microscope database? Because we want the world to have these slides. We want the world to have this information, and maybe build on top of it instead of putting it on Caltech's server or putting it into like a closed server. We're going to make sure that we can create this open source software where anyone can run it and distribute it, and have nodes that host the data around the world, so that it's always persistent. Anyone can access it, and there's no way to close that data away from anybody in the world. So Caltech created etdb.caltech.edu, and that website shows, I think, 12,000 tomograms. Tomogram is the technical name for a microscope, the image of a microscope photograph, basically. And all of the data for those tomograms is hosted on FLO, and the actual images themselves, the content, is on IPFS.
It's pretty epic.
Yeah, it's awesome. Great. It's our first production use case that's live and working, and they're building a new one actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's in discussion about how it's going to take place, but we have agreed to build a new database for them.
Wow, that's awesome, man. I'm sure you're pretty excited about that one.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
So another question from the community here. Hopefully I can read this correctly. When talking about FLO mining, could you explain how it will provide chain security going forward as miners surpass 90% FLO being mined?
Yes. So right now, the only way to receive new FLO is to mine it with a script ASIC, similar to Litecoin. It's actually exactly the same as Litecoin. And in terms of the security of the network, we have a max reorg depth algorithm, which is exactly the same algorithm that Ravencoin and Bitcoin Cash use, which makes it very hard to attack the network with a 51% attack. In addition, we have OIP planned to start paying fees to miners for all commercial transactions that go over it. So anyone that builds an application that does sales and makes a profit and has some revenue using OIP will be contributing a certain percent of their sales to miners' fees, which should supplement the reducing block reward, because we have a similar block reward halving like Bitcoin does and Litecoin does. You're right that the subsidy for miners will eventually trail off, which means we're going to replace it with these transaction fees that happen from OIP.
So, what are some of the current applications that FLO could be used for that may not be currently putting in place right now?
Right now, we are looking at using FLO for things like a social network. We're also looking at it in terms of like a search engine. So anyone that wants to create like a forum or some sort of photo sharing app, maybe a decentralized Twitter, those are things that FLO would be really great at, because we have this decentralized metadata layer, and we have releasing soon the Open Index Protocol 1.0 software package. It should be very easy for people to create their own version of a FLO app that uses the metadata fields to create a decentralized application. So almost anything could be created with the metadata field. The question is, what is really important to be decentralized? Which types of data do we really want to prove existed? And which types of data should not have data atrophy, which means you lose the data over time. Those are the applications that first would make the best use of FLO, which I think is why we have seen Overstock using it for these trade proofs, right? Because it's immutable. Caltech using it because there's no data atrophy, like that. Those pieces of data will always exist. And Medici using it because it's permissionless, and land rights registries will always be available for people.
Gotcha. So, are you considering operating with the Lightning Network? The next question here is, how might FLO operate working the Lightning Network?
So we are actually talking with SparkSwap, which I believe is an atomic swap network that works with Bitcoin and Litecoin right now. Our volume is really low on the exchange, so it's kind of a challenge to make that sale to any of these Lightning Network-based software packages. But I think if we can increase the volume of FLO on exchanges and it becomes higher ranked on CoinMarketCap, for example, people will be more likely to work with us on that. And because Flow is so similar to Bitcoin and Litecoin, the code base is 99% the same, we're able to implement the Lightning Network just like they did.
And since you mentioned exchange there, I'll answer a question for you. And unless you want to throw something out there, but since I've worked with so many projects, I've seen so many people ask about when we're going to get listed on Binance, when we're going to Bittrex, and your group was no different. Which a lot of guys wanted to know if you're going to go onto a new exchange. And guys, that's not always the answer. Let me tell you, especially this climate, all these projects that you're seeing falling by the wayside, they're the ones that were paying bukus of bucks to go on Binance on day one. And when you throw your funds out the window, that's just less amount of time that you have to develop your main product. I'd say right now is development stage within the blockchain. If you can develop a product that can answer a question or be used down the road for a specific purpose, then you're just sitting on gold and just hang on, and then you'll have exchanges asking you to come on. But I guess you can answer that question if you have anything else to add.
I agree 100% with what you said, and I'll also add that we don't pay for listing fees. So similar to Ravencoin and Grin, which recently launched as well, they don't pay listing fees for exchanges. So we've decided not to do that. Bittrex listed us for free many years ago because we were seen as a legitimate project when they started. So we're looking to have a similar thing happen with Flow.
Gotcha. Mimble Wimble. I like saying that word.
It's cool.
Talked about that a little bit with Ruben from I don't want to get that wrong, Zcoin a while back when he was on the show. Another question here. Having a small developer group is great in terms of keeping consensus and preventing forks. However, it is more work on existing developers to complete. How does Flow plan to stay decentralized in the future, yet scale at a pace it needs to without division within the development sector?
So I think this will happen organically. If you look at the development of Flow over the last 6 years and how the team grew, on day one, it was just Sky Angel. On day two, it was me and Sky Angel. And from those two people, over the last 6 years, it's really grown to a huge community. And I think that Flow will continue to grow organically, just like Bitcoin and Litecoin did. We set up a foundation to receive donations and pay people for dev work. It's Hong Kong based, just like Litecoin set up a foundation, to do a similar thing. And Bitcoin also has like Chain Code Labs and other companies that are basically fueled from donations from the community. And I think we'll do a similar thing with Flow. It's very much in the same ethos of open source contribution, and that has seemed to work for Litecoin and Bitcoin. So we're probably going to continue on that organic route.
Great. So let's see. If you could implement any one single thing into the Flow code that has not been written, what would it be?
Oh, that is a great question. Actually, I would really like to put some of the Open Index Protocol standards in Flow. And I think that we could do, oh man, there really is a lot. I would really like to put some of the private key infrastructure stuff that we're doing with OIP, using different Flow addresses to sign messages and things like that. But also maybe add different types of signatures, like maybe a PGP signature or something like that, into Flow so that all full nodes could validate OIP transactions. That would be really cool. I would also like to add maybe a peer-to-peer messaging layer. I think Ravencoin has something similar to this, but I've been thinking about that for a long time, where it would be really nice not to have like a chat room really, but to have a software library for programmers to send each other ephemeral messages. So in Flow, you have the Flow data field where everything is stored forever, but it would be good for a software developer to have a messaging layer for arbitrary data that just gets sent over the network and then deleted and not stored. So I think that would be really helpful. It's very technical, but to answer your question about the code, yeah, I think that PKI stuff could be improved, and we can integrate that with OIP, which would be really great. And we could add some additional features for messaging on the network for programmers that want to use to make better apps that have that feature, because it's a library that exists. And if Flow came with it packaged out of the box, that'd be really great.
Well, Joseph, I gotta say I'm pretty jealous of your current success right now. I might have to have you back on the show for my blockchain success series I have going. You forgive me for saying it, but you seem like kind of a young guy. Probably younger than I am, but
I'm 30 years old, actually.
30. Okay, well I'm 28,
Yeah.
so we're close. But I may have to hear your story someday. So
Yeah, I would.
you being in Korea, you're pretty much living the dream for me right now.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm free to travel around because of my full time job. I work remotely, so it is really great. It's actually, but yeah, I would actually love to be on another interview. I'm very happy to do this. And it was really great talking with you.
Yeah, actually, my internet's lagging right now, so hopefully, I'm pretty sure we got all the vocals there, but the picture kind of cut out. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, sorry, it might be me because I'm at like an Airbnb
No, you're
halfway
good.
across the world.
You're good. I only got a couple more questions for you here, and then we'll wrap it up. I'm surprised it lasts
Okay,
this
great.
long, honestly. Guys, if there is a slight lag at the end of this, I'm kind of doing some experimenting. I downloaded some new software here to record my screen because if we go longer than an hour, it kind of lags at the end of it. So hopefully we didn't get to that point. But
Okay.
so where do you see Flow in, let's say, 5 years from now?
I really want Flow to sign up probably 10 times as many enterprise partners as we have now. And by enterprise partners, uh, implementing it in business. I will have more users that organically develop fun apps on top of it. Something like CryptoKitties or a game or anything that like a hacker could do on a weekend or as a summer project. Those types of things that really show the power of a decentralized network and would showcase how our excuse me, how our software could be used. That would be really, really awesome. So I can see Flow reaching that potential after we've released our 1.0 software package.
Well, I'd say everybody's looking forward to that. And I can already tell we're slightly delayed here, guys, so we're going to wrap this up for you all. I got one more question for you, and we can get out of here. So this is kind of an important one. Given the current market, when exactly would you say that one Flow will be equivalent to one Big Mac?
I hope. Okay, so I predicted that the bear market would last for 5 years. So I guess it started in January 2018. So I guess around January 2023, we might see an uptick in the market. Maybe Bitcoin will reach $1 million. And then it's possible that, one Flow could buy one Big Mac. That's my prediction based on my super professional market analysis.
So if anybody was curious about what the inside joke there was, there it is. I was told that you might get a kick out of that question.
That's great. Thank you.
No problem. So is there anything else you'd like to add about the project?
Not really. I mean, Flow is, something that speaks for itself, right? Our website is flow.cash. You can check it out, see some of the apps. We're going to be adding a few more soon. And I think that people should really think about why metadata is important and how it could be used to build the different internet that we have today.
Awesome. Well, Joseph, I'm glad you came on the show, and I'm glad we got to learn more about Flow today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
No problem. I'm sure we'll be in touch. And if you guys like this video, please subscribe, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, and tell us what you think about this project. And I'll see you next time.